about 2 weeks back, we had a lot from you now. 23 days. How has it been? The war between, some people say it's quite unprovoked war on the side of Iran, you know. So 23 days, how has it been? The cost of war and all of that.
War, there's nothing good about war. It's very terrible. There have been a lot of casualty, over 3,000 casualties from both sides. Iran being the country that has, had a lot of losses in terms of their infrastructure. Their infrastructure, government infrastructure has been, government buildings have been attacked, schools, stadium. In fact, the US and Israelis have attacked Iranian research, nuclear research infrastructure, and so many things. And there've been a lot of loss of life. Over 1,400 or 500 persons have been killed in Iran. The death toll is also gradually rising in Israel and in some of the Gulf Arab nation, that have been caught in the crosshair.
Now we seem to have US in a shock, because a lot of people felt that it was going to be a walkover, hitting Iran. But we see Iran standing shoulder to shoulder, very strong, and it appears it is a missile for a missile. So I'd like you to talk to us. As some global leaders, some global analysts are saying that Iran actually shook US and Israel. Is that also your thought?
Yeah, definitely. Iran has put up a good fight. And I think they've been prepared for that war for over 30 years. I mean, Iran has actually suffered a lot. You remember in 1980, when the US sponsored or supported Saddam Hussein in Iraq to invade Iran. And they fought that war for over 8 years, And in fact, the Islamic Republic of Iran reluctantly agreed for a ceasefire. They were willing to go further and to fight. So one thing with the Iranians, I think what the resilience that they have is actually coming from their religion. The Iranians are Shiites. They believe in, they see death as something to be embraced. So their religion teach them to embrace death and being scared of death. So we have people who are very willing to go out there and die. And for those who die for such cause, they are already celebrated as martyrs in their country. So I think the United States actually really underestimated the Iranians. The Iranians are actually a missile power globally. I mean, if you want to check the stockpile of Iranian missile, their missile program development, it is highly, very sophisticated. I don't think there's any country in the world, aside from China, that has that missile capability. The Iranians are actually a missile power. So if you want to compare the two military, Iran cannot be compared to the United States. The joint power of the US and the Israeli is top-notch. I mean, you have two nuclear power, which is not a fair fight, two nuclear power fighting a non-armed nuclear nation. And they have the US has one of the most sophisticated and advanced conventional military power. I mean, if you talk about conventional military warfare, Iran will not be able to fight the United States. What the Iranian strategy is doing, what they are doing actually, they are using the asymmetric war strategy. The US is more of a conventional power. They have very expensive fighter jet and fighter jet program. They have very expensive, warships. But the Iranians are actually, absorbing and drowning the US military potentials. For instance, the Iranians keep shooting their old missiles against the Gulf Arab states and the state of Israel, while they are spending millions to intercept each of the interceptor battery, Israeli interceptor battery that the Iron Dome shoots to intercept Iranian missile is cost about $1.something million. Whereas the Iranian missile is just made like about $30,000. as compared to 1 point something million dollars interceptor. So they are draining the US, they are draining the Israelis. For instance, as I'm talking to you right now, the Israelis are running low on interceptor battery, which means that it will become a war of attrition. Already it is a war of attrition because they have run out of their missile interceptor, their airspace is becoming more open, and the Iranians are hitting them. I mean, we have one of the most lethal strike from the Iranian. That was yesterday when the Iranian aerospace forces attacked Israeli nuclear city, Dimona. They struck Dimona, and then we had a lot of casualties in Israel. For the Iranians, they did that as a retaliation to Israeli attack on Iranian nuclear facility.
Yeah. Now, let's look at the cost of this war. Like you said, billions of dollars already been sunk into the war. Why did Trump decide to go this way?
Well, I think the U.S. Senate has called for a hearing, and they've been probing the Trump administration for what reason they decided to go into war with Iran. There are a lot of people within even the Trump administration, like the guy called Kent, who was in charge of the Anti-Terrorism Commission. He said that United States actually went into war because of Israel, in the defense of Israel. I don't think the United States really have any strategic reason to go into that war. Because Iran does not pose a threat to the United States. Iran is not a threat to anyone, except for Israel, who see Iran as an opposition regional growing power. For the part of Israel, I understand that Israel has the plot of establishing what is called a Greater Israel, which they want to expand their territory into part of Lebanon. They want to annex part of Syria and Saudi Arabia. You know, they want a Greater Israel, even down to part of Sinai in Egypt. So for them to succeed in getting that project Greater Israel into a reality, they are going to drift with war. They are going to drift on instability. When regional countries are destabilized, when there's war, there's conflict, they are able to expand. The destabilization of Gaza by the Israeli government since 2023 have led to Israel, annexing part of Gaza. Part of Gaza is under the Israeli control, right now. So their territory has been expanded. Right now, there is Israeli ground troops in Lebanon. I mean, they have invaded part of Lebanon, and they are saying they want to establish a buffer zone. So it is the grand project of the Greater Israel. And so, but Israel sees Iran as a counter force to that. And this is why, because the Iranian government, the Islamic Republic of Iran, has invested a lot, knowing that Israel is an aggressive power. In fact, they call Israel the lesser Satan, and they call America the greater Satan. So, what the Iranian strategy was during the Ghazam Soleimani, the former IRGC commander, what he did was to, support what you would call Iranian proxy. They are not really Iranian proxy. They are Iranian partners or in resistance, because Hezbollah was established in 1982 to counter Israeli aggression when Israel invaded Lebanon. So they pushed Israel back. And Hezbollah is a political party with a paramilitary wing. So they are the allies of Iran, and they have been able to push back. Right now, Hezbollah has responded in Lebanon. They are also striking Israel. I mean, the Israelis are also losing infrastructure. So when you want to look at the war on a strategic front, both Israel and Iran,
losing a lot, right?
They are both losing. I mean, both of them, the Israelis may say, oh, we have sophisticated air defense system, about 7 layers of air defense system. But I tell you, the Iranian missile development is so sophisticated. They have missile warhead with cluster munitions. When they strike it, it breaks into about 80 pieces of ammunition, dropping in different parts of Israel. So you cannot really intercept that. So they are losing their infrastructure. A lot of people are dying. In fact, yesterday we had people in Israel protesting against the government, which means the war is actually has boomerang against the Israeli government. What the Israeli government wanted to do, they wanted a regime change in Iran. They wanted a government that is more friendly to them, that will not say anything, a puppet government in Iran so that they can just have a free ride.
We are saying you're the wise.
Yeah, so but there are two things with the Israelis. The Israelis actually want to, they want to decapitate the Iranian establishment. They want to destroy all their military and industrial based potential. So they have carried out up to 1,800 military target strikes in Iran. And these targets are majorly on government infrastructure, police stations. So they want to destroy all the capabilities of the government to be able to manage the country. Whereas they have Mossad operatives in Iran that they are hoping that they will begin to destabilize the country within, so that they will allow for a porous border, and then the Iranian establishment will become weaker. And the aim there is very more dangerous. The United States of America does not really know. But what the Israeli government wants to do, they want to balkanize Iran. They want to break Iran into smaller republics, because there are narrative. Iran is not just a homogeneous, it's not really homogeneous. If you check, we have Balochistan, which have Balochis. The Balochis, they speak a different dialect. If you go to Azeri, the Azeri part, where we have Azerbaijani, people that speak Azerbaijan, they are in Iran. Then we have the Persians. The Persians are the really the Iranian people. But then they all speak one language. Okay, they speak one language, they write in one alphabet, the Iranian alphabet. So what the Israeli government wants to do, they want to, weaken the country, the government grip on government, and then balkanize the country into tiny republics. So the Iranians, the whole strategy has backfired on Israel, because when they struck the supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei on the 28th of February, what happened was that the Iranians, that strike actually, unified the Iranian society. Most of them came together because he was greatly loved by the people. That's a man who have ruled Iran for 37 years. Immediately after the 8-year war, he's been ruling the country. So they love him regardless of anything. They love him. He's been ruling for 30. So killing such a man is like killing the father of the nation, the man who built Iran into what it is. So it actually unified the entire country. So the Israelis, I think, they have not really achieved their strategy. If you go to Tehran today, regardless of the bombardment and the military strike, the destruction, the Iranian government, the Islamic Republic of Iran, the government is still in control of the country. The borders are secure. And one of the strategies they did, they understood that they cannot compete with America in terms of air superiority. That is the strategic military advantage that the US and Israel has over Iran. The strategic advantage of Iran is their missile power. But Iran does understand that they cannot compete a dogfight in the air with the US. So they built their military industrial complex under the mountains, underground. So when you strike the infrastructure on the ground, they still have potential to build more missiles. And then they build missile silos. They don't have platform that shoots missiles. If they have launchers, they have rocket launchers. But the Israelis have been striking the launchers, which means if they've succeeded, if they had it on the ground, they would have struck all of them, and then the Iranians will not have the power to fight back.
Okay, sorry. Let me put what in now because of time.
Okay.
With all of this, what does it mean for Nigeria?
Well, I think the world
is for our security.
Yeah, in terms of Nigeria's security, not just Nigerian security, African security. The last time I was talking to you, I said African leaders have to come back, convene, and have a security forum. And what we need to discuss is, number one, what is the threat that we face? One of the threats we face is terrorism. Terrorism destabilizes Africa, influence and control, affect negatively African economy. You see what the Iranians are doing. They block the Strait of Hormuz that accounts for 20% of global energy trade. And then what is happening? Everybody is suffering inflation. They have something to hold on. So it is part of their military calculation. So what Africa has to do, because look at United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, the Gulf Arab nation were, depending, they outsource their security to United States. America has their bases in 15 Arab nations across the Gulf. So they were believing that America is a world power and is going to defend them. But look, America present in the Gulf Arab nation is insecurity. because they are striking Iran from the Arab bases, from the Gulf Arab base, and then that causes what? Retaliation. Iran is targeting those Arab nations because America is carrying out strike from their soil. So it is not secure. Today we have American base in Ghana, we have American base in Senegal, we have American base in some of the region in Djibouti in the Horn of Africa. So what we need to do is, number one, we need to talk about the closure of American base in all African soil, because it will bring more harm. It gives them the ability to quickly arrange logistics for their military. If they want to invade Africa and subdue us and subject us to, to colonies, they have all it takes. They have the military power. We do not have a military-industrial complex in Africa where we domestically manufacture arms to defend ourselves. So one of the things I would advise Nigeria government is invest in the military, build a military industrial complex, invest in long arm, that's build a lot of missile power, build air defense system. Because if you have an air defense system, nobody will fly over your airspace freely. You shoot down the person's this thing. What the Iranians are doing now is going to be a very terrible, shameful battle for the US, because reports coming in now shows that the Iranians have started shooting down American and Israeli jet fighters, even the most sophisticated one. So if they are capable of stopping America roving freely on their airspace, and then the Americans can't stop them from their long strike, what does that tell? That means they will win the war. They have already begun to state out their terms for the end to the conflict. First, we don't want American base anywhere in the Gulf states. It's a threat to our national security. We want to have full control of the Strait of Hormuz. That means to say Iran will be charging, I've heard rumors that they say they want to charge 10% of every ship that passes there with petroleum product. That means Iran is going to be one of the most, it's going to be a global power if that happens. And then they said they will not negotiate their nuclear technology anymore. I mean, they have the right to own nuclear technology. They do have the right after all.
Now, finally, let's look at energy. We're coming to work here this evening. We stop over, and the price of petrol is $1,350. Now, looking at all of this, you made mention of 20% from the Strait of Hormuz. Now look, let's look at the energy crisis we are having, even here in Cross River State, because of a war far away in Iran and US.
I think Nigeria government has to decouple. When I say decoupled, we have been so pro-West to the point that our economy is so much synchronized with Western economy. I think Nigeria has energy independence. When I say Nigeria has energy independence, is that we have crude, we have oil and gas. I mean, we have it here. The problem that we do have is production capacity. We don't have enough production capacity. We have mono refineries, the one in Port Harcourt, the rest, the other 4 Nigerian refineries that we know of, which are not operational. Then we do have Dangote refinery, which is the largest, the second largest refinery in the world, that has the capacity to produce enough for even domestic consumption and export. What Nigerian government has to do to deal with issues like this, because we've had countries like Kenya and most African countries that don't have energy dependent, they depend on imports of all their energy needs from foreign countries. They are the ones that are legitimately affected. Nigeria is not supposed to. But I see that Dangote refinery is pursuing commercial interest, its commercial interest, by trying to sell to those countries, because I've heard most of them saying they are going to buy from Nigeria. So he's trying to meet the demand from the international market, and the demand for international market is affecting domestic demand. So we are not capable of supplying enough. So there's actually constraints. So there's going to be a surge in the price. So what the Nigerian government will do to deal with problems like this is to build more energy infrastructure. We need to build more refineries. We need to get the old ones functioning. We need to build, and then we need to give license to states. Like Cross River State should think about owning its own mono refineries. I think we should. I mean, it's not something we should. I think people within the Prince Otu administration should begin to think. I mean, we can have a state-owned petroleum corporation just like we have the water board, we can also have an oil company in Cross River State that is run by the Cross River State government. We can own a mono refinery, build a mono refinery, produce enough petrochemical to satisfy our domestic needs, and even sell to other states. If we want to export, we can export, and that will bring a lot of foreign currency into the country, into the government, and then Cross River State local economy will do very well.
Great. What a better way to hang it there. Eden Emmanuel, it's always a pleasure talking with you on Weekend Politics. 23 days on, the battle, the fight between US, Israel, and Iran. We look forward to days ahead to see if there will be any respite, if there will be any form of ceasefire for negotiations. But like this, we'll still have you back here.
Yes,
maybe in 2 weeks' time to give us updates. This is where we have to draw the show for tonight. Join us again next week, Sunday, God willing. In all that you do, please ensure that you be a good citizen of Cross River State and Nigeria. My name is Joseph Ian. Good night.